And I want to deliver something to you tonight that's been ministering to me lately. And it's in Matthew chapter 24, 3 through 4. They asked him what the coming of the Lord would be like, the end of the world. And this is what he had to say. He said, and he sat upon the Mount of Olives. The disciples came to him privately, saying, "Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world?" And Jesus answered and said unto them, "Take heed that no man deceive you." You may be seated. You may be seated. Not deceived. The best advice that I can think of for the end time, for myself, I know, is don't get deceived. Don't be deceived, right? A lot can happen if we get deceived. This was a great warning. This was the first thing he started off with, is don't be deceived. And he actually mentions it several other times in that chapter. And it's found all through the New Testament. Don't be deceived. How easy is it to be deceived? It may be easier than you think. Peter swallowed the granddaddy of all deceptions, in my opinion, when he tried to keep Jesus from going to the cross. It was such a big deception that if he had succeeded in keeping Jesus from the cross, that it would have shut down God's plan that he had from the foundation of the world. Matthew chapter 16 talks about this, and I'll just pick up in verse 22. After Jesus was talking about going in and facing this and being killed, Peter took him and began to rebuke him, saying, "Be it far from thee, Lord, this shall not be unto thee." But he turned and said unto Peter, "Get thee behind me, Satan. Thou art an offense unto me, for thou savorest not the things that be of God, but those that be of men." Peter loved Jesus, and he was with him daily, but yet his mind was on something that would have shut the gospel down for everybody. How could this have happened? Especially to Peter, right? Well, I like this quote from the late Bishop J.T. Pugh. He explains Peter's motives very well. In this, when I read this, it really made me start thinking about my own self. We need to look at this probably more than just daily, but throughout the day. We need to be mindful of this. The fleshly priorities, this is his quote, the fleshly priorities and values of Peter obscured the purpose and supreme importance of the cross. Did you hear that? His fleshly priorities and his fleshly values obscured the purpose and the supreme importance of the cross. Now, I think I'm guilty of that. I've allowed priorities to be worldly sometimes, and my mind is not on godly things. These things would creep up on you and you don't even realize it, just like Peter. How can we keep this from happening? We must carry our cross daily. To this we cannot savor the things of men. We must be dead to those things. That's what newness of life is all about, being dead to those old things that we used to savor. Our priorities must not be on ourselves. When our priorities become about us, this thing's going to fall apart. We must be lovers of this truth more than anything else. More than anything else. And here are just some things that popped in my head about this that I wanted to tell you about. There are many things that we need to look out for. But in our world today, in the spirit that's in our society today, even our own state, the things that are going on in government, we need to be aware of these things. We must never give in to the world's idea that there are many ways to heaven. Never. We must never give in to the world's idea that sin will not be judged. It will. Either we die to it today or it's going to get judged later. And there's so many more I could go over. But this is the main one that I think we all need to be aware of. We must never give in to the idea that the Acts 2:38 message is not essential to salvation. All of it. That's out there. There's people trying to tell us that it's not that big of a deal. So tonight, let's all heed Jesus' warning and be not deceived. Think about this. I'll leave you with this. If we had no control over being deceived, then Jesus never would have warned us about it. Amen.